Well, hi, all. Welcome to the Athletics Weekly's preview for the upcoming Olympic marathon trials. We've got Tom Evans, who many of you might know from ultra running, but maybe not marathon running. But I'm right in saying, Tom, ahead of the upcoming Olympic marathon trials, is this your second ever marathon coming up?
Yes, this is my second marathon. The first one was a an interesting experience, and I'm sort of slightly trying to wipe it from memory. Very character building. But yeah, this is my second marathon. I've done races that have been sort of four marathons in one. But yeah, so this is a little bit different. But yeah, incredibly excited for the weekend.
So, I mean, it's quite a change, isn't it? You know, the first standalone marathon Olympic trial in Britain for over 40 years. You know, usually, obviously, they are at the marathons, but this is different because of the pandemic. Firstly, are you excited by it? And secondly, what do you make of the course? You know, Kew Gardens, obviously, everyone knows it as a tourist attraction, but maybe not a marathon circuit.
I think, yeah, so answering the first question, am I excited? Yeah, I think being sort of cooped up for the last 12 months and there just being so much uncertainty with racing and now actually having this opportunity. One, I guess, incredibly thankful for British Athletics, Richmond Runfest and Tom Bedford for actually getting this event on. I dread to think how difficult it's been to tick all the boxes and give us the green light that we get to race and we get to showcase all the hard work that we've put in, and with an incredible outcome at the end for two people. So yeah, I think on that hand, yeah, it's incredibly exciting. And yeah, the course itself, I think, yeah, who knows? I think what makes it great is Kew Gardens is very British, and to be able to run the trials there is really cool. Yes, it's not well known for marathon running. And there's been lots of talk about the course, but I guess for us, what we've done up in Loughborough is just really specific running on very similar courses with twists and turns and long straights. And under the careful guidance of Andy Hobson, my coach, we've sort of prepared for it as well as we possibly can. And the course is the same for everyone. So yeah, I think it's an amazing course, and just to be able to race, I think it's just brilliant.
I guess the question kind of going into it is from people kind of who have seen you so often in ultra running. You know, they've seen how successful you've been all around the world, from, you know, Costa Rica to Spain to the States to New Zealand. You know, why the marathon? What's kind of the pull of being part of the marathon? I guess the Olympics is the obvious answer, but what's the pull of kind of going down a level? Because usually you see people in the marathon, they usually go up a level from a 10K, whereas you've actually kind of gone down, which is quite a weird kind of dynamic to think about it in that sense.
Yeah, so I guess it's almost, and people would see that as like physically you're getting stronger or your endurance has improved, so you step up in distance. But for me, this was sort of far more of a mental thing. And I think, as everyone experienced last year with all of the uncertainty, people, whether it was making lists or sort of having their days planned. And I think for me, this is sort of my running version of that. Like, I'm such a goal orientated athlete. I love training. I love training hard, but sensibly. And it has to have a goal at the end of it. And with trail running sort of being so reliant on volunteers and a huge support network around you, sort of I had sort of deducted sort of midway through last year that it's unlikely there were going to be any big trail races that really interested me and I would want to train hard towards. So yeah, sort of set these road goals with Andy, and yeah, and it's just been a whirlwind journey. And having these goals set sort of for me to focus on things, yeah, it's just helped to keep me really motivated during this really weird year. And I think it's definitely something that other people sort of not in running have learned to do, and it's definitely something I'd recommend that if people didn't do is to set these goals, because yeah, they just help to keep you really focused. And then yeah, I think physically, having started running sort of through a drunken bet, and my first race over 5K over a park run was Marathon des Sables. Having never done any of this sort of faster threshold training, this is sort of almost sort of bringing back sort of the foundations, sort of going back to basics and the building blocks to make me a better all-round athlete. So when I do go back onto the trails and I do sort of go back to ultra running, I can take all of this as sort of amazing lessons learned, so both physically and mentally, and just be a far better all-round athlete than I was previously.
I was about to ask, you talk about going back to ultra running. Just before quickly on that, actually, that drunken bet thing, if anyone doesn't know the story, what's the story about there? Because it happened, what, 4 years ago, did it?
Yes, I had some friends in the army. I was a serving captain in the British Army and served 8 years with the Welsh Guards, and had some friends who did a race called Marathon des Sables, that is a 250-kilometer multi-stage self-supported race across the Sahara Desert. And I, after a couple of beers when they got back, said, "Oh yeah, you guys did well. You finished in the top 300, but I reckon I could do better." Having never run, I'd run one park run and that was it. I was fit and I played team sports, but I didn't have a running coach. I didn't have a training program. I ran, if I had an hour free, I'd run for an hour, and it's completely non-specific. And yeah, got to the race and ended up having an amazing experience and absolutely loved it, and did significantly better than I think anyone thought that it was possible to do. And yeah, from there it sort of, I left the army in July 2019. And yeah, it's just been pretty bonkers ever since. And I've had some incredible opportunities for racing, and yeah, so can't turn them down. Just absolutely love it.
And I guess going back to the previous point about going back to ultra running, is this a short-term thing, or do you want to continue to do more marathons kind of in the future, depending on what happens here, I guess, because your PB 2:26:04, if I'm right in saying, the qualifying time's 2:11:30, but you've only done one marathon, so there's not an average of PBs. That's literally just your PB, I'm guessing, off the first marathon that you've done as well.
Yeah, that was an interesting day. I'd raced a 100K race 4 weeks before, hadn't recovered. I actually had a torn calf before, and it wasn't healed, and I hadn't run for a while before, and heaps of excuses. So yeah, I've written that one off, and the question of will I do more? I don't know. I've got so many unanswered questions. I sort of feel like I've slightly proven myself at sort of a shorter distance, sort of 5K, sort of running 13:41 at podium last year, and sort of cross country finishing sort of third in the intercounties, and racing for British Athletics at the European Cross Country Champs, being part of a successful winning men's team. I feel like I've proven myself at 100K distances, 100-mile distances. So kind of for me, the marathon is sort of the missing piece of the puzzle in the middle. So yeah, I think anything is possible. And yeah, training has gone really well. I've thoroughly enjoyed this training block. And yeah, will I race more? I don't know. We'll see. I've got absolutely no idea after Friday what my next race is. I don't know if it's going to be a 30K mountain race, or it's going to be a 100-mile race in the UK, or it's going to be another marathon, or straight back onto the roads. And I think with the Commonwealth Games happening in Birmingham, like that's a home commies would be incredibly special. But yeah, I think I want to answer these questions and see. I might get halfway through the marathon and decide that I absolutely hate it, and I'm actually incredibly useless. And you should, as a lot of people said, go back to what you're good at. Yeah, I want to. For me, this is it's an itch that I've just got to scratch, and it's been a quality build up, and I've absolutely loved every minute of it. So yeah, just really looking forward to having the chance to see to myself and to answer those questions that I've asked myself of what am I capable of doing.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess, I mean, there's a quote actually that you did in an interview with Sky. I think it might have been last year. You said there's a huge difference between a 5K and a marathon, but an even bigger difference between a marathon and a 100-mile race. So who knows, kind of, we'll see. I mean, I guess that's the same kind of thought process you're taking into this. And I guess it begs the question, what kind of time do you think you can get? How far do you think you can, challenge the other guys in the race on Friday?
I think time's always a really difficult one. And you can look so much into the course and you can look so much into the weather. So almost I know what effort I need to run at, and I know what it feels like to run at that effort. And if I said I was going to sort of start out incredibly sort of conservatively and poodle about it in the back, I'd be lying. But it's a race at the end of the day. And anything, as sort of have proven in other races, anything can happen. Do I plan on sprinting from the beginning and being being the first athlete to go through 5K? No, absolutely not. I don't. But I think it's a trial race. You've just the first two people who cross the line under 2:11:30. If that happens, we'll go to the Olympics. It's a really simple concept. So yeah, I think I plan on going fast. And the training is sort of suggested that things can go well, but as everyone knows, lots can happen in a marathon. There are so many uncontrollable factors, but yeah, I sort of plan on using the experience that I've built up in 100-mile races, etc., to help me in this race. Like, yes, I'm probably one of the more inexperienced athletes, having done less amount of races, but actually the amount of miles that I have traveled in my racing, I'm probably the most experienced athlete on the course. I think I worked out the other day, it's something like the equivalent of 19 marathons that I have raced, but only actually done one marathon, just through racing ultra marathons. So yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. And yeah, just really, really excited for the race.
Yeah, I guess it kind of goes into, what's the mentality going to be for you kind of going into this marathon compared to, is it almost like a nothing to lose kind of attitude going into it? And then I guess the other question that I've got is kind of, what's the mentality around long distance running? Do you kind of take it with kind of 5K kind of sections almost? Do you think, I've got 5K here, 5K here, 5K here? You don't think about the whole 100K if you're doing it. And I'm guessing that'll be the same for the marathon going through.
Yeah, 100%. So for the last 100-mile race I did, I broke it down into 4 segments of 25 miles each, which seems mad because 25 miles is still a seriously long way. And yeah, and I think for the half, it's very much, sorry, for the marathon, it's very much right. Get to halfway, staying out of trouble, and then get to 30K. And then from 30K is where the racing will start and the tactics will start. And I think that's very much our goal. It's to be there or thereabouts at 30K, and then to see what's in the tank. And looking at other people's training and sort of hearing about other people's training, like, who knows? And there are just so many unexpected things. And I think that's the great thing, but also the huge problem with social media and Strava and things like that. You can see some people's training. Some people might post, "Oh, everything's going incredibly well," but actually you've actually had a bit of a nightmare. Or
Is that something you pay attention to a lot, or?
No, I like to see roughly what other people are doing, and it's a nice talking point sort of during a warm up. But for us, it's been sort of very much, we know what the job is and actually don't worry about anyone else. Like like a saying that I use for ultra running, like if my best is good enough to be the best, and that's great. But if my best is not good enough to be the best, then fair play to whoever is the best. And I think that's the great thing with endurance sports is you've got a long time to decide who is going to be the best on the day. You've got 2 and a bit hours of running. And yeah, I think it's just, you can have the best training going into the race or not. And yeah, it's a race. Things can go right, things can go wrong. It doesn't mean I think someone who hasn't run at all for the last 12 weeks will come and smash it. But yeah, everyone would have had ups and downs in their training, and things would have gone to plan, things wouldn't have gone to plan. But yeah, it's a race, and you just got to be able to manage that race, get to halfway, get to 30K, and then the racing will really start, I think.
And I guess kind of before finishing off, and I want to get on to, I mean, you've apparently got a tendency to fall asleep standing up from what I've seen on your website. Like, before we kind of move on, explain more about that quickly. Like, is that something we could expect at the end of the marathon at Kew Gardens?
No,
it's off your shoulders, or?
Well, if I'm going for that long, something has gone seriously wrong. Yeah, that sort of starts happening at about 18 to 20 hours ish. So if I'm still running at 18 hours, then please stop me. Yeah, I'll also be running through all the tourists, because I think Kew is opening pretty soon after the race.
Yeah. I guess final question then is going into flipping the idea of, you looking at other people's results. Do you think they would look at your record and that they would understand that you have quite a different background to where they have come from, and that potentially may play to your competitive advantage in terms of their mentality, thinking, well, this guy at the end of the day has raced a lot more than we have in terms of distance, and distance at the end of the day with a marathon is a lot of the time what it's about.
I think it's a really interesting one. Like, I guess it's an unknown. Like, if I'm sat here, yes, I've got some ideas about what I would like to run, but it's such a huge unknown. I'm so relatively unproven at conventional distances. And you can look back through Power of 10 and look at other people's performances and go sort of head to head for marathons or half marathons, 10Ks. I've just not done many. And actually the ones that I have done, like, I'm in completely different shape now to what I have ever been in before, which I think is really exciting. And it is just that huge unknown. Like, I think you could very easily scroll through the marathon personal best and see, oh, this guy's run 2:26. On marathon PBs, I think I am 10 minutes slower than the next male in the race.
Does that daunt you in any way, or is that exciting?
No, I mean, it's great.
You can go ahead of a lot.
I think it's great. I think, I think there's I guess it's the unknown. Like, would I say that I was the underdog? No, but I have a very different background that has never really been done before, I guess. Yes, there are some very good ultra running athletes who have also done very well in the marathon, but have started with a conventional athletics background. So yeah, I think it's a huge unknown. And do I think people have wasted energy thinking about, oh, Tom Evans might do this, might do that? No, I don't think anyone's done that. But I think if they see me in the lead, in a lead group or the second group at halfway or at 30K, would they think, oh yeah, well, that kind of makes sense. He's good at endurance, but he's probably not got the speed. But I guess I'll have to see it, or I may just absolutely hate it. Who knows? I'm looking forward to answering these questions for myself.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it, man. I've got final question. Have you chatted with Tom Bedford about the course, just the event itself, what to expect, and he's a big personality anyway. Like, if you chatted to him pretty about anything else apart from marathon running, like what's he said, if you have?
Yeah, I think communication's been it's been a funny one, and I guess it's sort of half and half. Yes, you want to find out as much about the event as possible, but then at the same time, there is so much other information out there. So my coach Andy's been to the course, and so we've seen lots of recordings of it, and I'll run a loop of it this week. And yeah, I think Tom has just done an absolutely superb job, and we've sort of been fortunate enough to have some great Zoom calls sort of with everyone who's taking part, sort of for Tom to explain about the course and the day and how everything's working. And yeah, I think it's just going to be a quality day with two quality fields. And yeah, just incredibly thankful for Tom to put his neck on the line and to say like, yeah, we'll do our very best to host a Charlers and make it as good as possible. And it's great that there's now streaming because a lot of people want to watch it. And I think that's great for the athletes. I think it's great for the sport. And just sort of hats off to Tom for putting in all the hard effort to get this event up and running.